So today is the day of many beginnings. Sunday, always the beginning of a new week. The first day of a month, today is December 1st, the beginning of a new month. And in the Catholic world, it's the beginning of the season of Advent and the beginning of a new liturgical year. Our liturgical year in the Catholic Church begins on the first Sunday of Advent and ends on Saturday before the next Sunday of Advent, which will be November 29th of next year. November 30th being the first Sunday of Advent a year from now. But also, this is the beginning of a Jubilee year. Now, there are Jubilee years every 25 years. This has been going on for hundreds of years in the Catholic Church. So the last major Jubilee year was the year 2000. That was Pope John Paul II. And he proclaimed that as the regular 25th Jubilee year, but also to say 2,000 years of Christianity are completed and we begin the new millennium in the year 2000. This is now another Jubilee year. I'll talk about that in a minute. But popes can also have extraordinary Jubilee years anytime they want. And there was one in 2016 by Pope Francis. He declared that because it was 50 years after the end of the Second Vatican Council. And it was the Jubilee year of mercy. The Pope was also held to be another Jubilee year in 8 years. 8 years from now, the year 2033, to mark the 2000th anniversary of Jesus' death, resurrection, and ascension into heaven. But here we are in Jubilee year, almost 2025, but it begins again with this liturgical year. And Pope Francis has declared that this be a year of hope. And that's the theme of the first Sunday of Advent. And you see hope, if you can read it, kind of faintly on the walls there. So the year of hope from now until the end of the year, the Jubilee year, and many events will happen during the Jubilee year, but we start Sunday with the year of hope. Now Advent, at least in the northern hemisphere of our world, is the darkest month of the year. And you know the longest night of the year is December 21st. You know how I like statistics and numbers, so I checked all these facts. On December 21st, there'll be 9 hours, 42 minutes, and 1 second of daylight. That's the longest night, the shortest day. It's going to change on December 22nd. It starts to get brighter. On December 22nd, there'll be 9 hours, 42 minutes, and 4 seconds of light. 3 more seconds. Isn't that exciting? That'll happen all the way until June 21st, the longest day of the year. On that day, there'll be 14 hours, 37 minutes, and 12 seconds of daylight. That's almost 5 hours more of daylight than it's going to be on December 21st. And of course, December is a cold month. But enough about weather. Let's talk about what this means in our lives. Darkness and cold. Is there darkness and cold in your life? I'm not talking about physical darkness, spiritual darkness. A darkness of sin, a darkness of anger, a darkness of jealousy, a darkness of prejudice. You know, that can happen and it can destroy our lives. I want to read you a very interesting story. If we do not allow the light of the Lord to guide us and the fire of his love to bring warmth to the world, we will be like those 6 people who were found dead in a cold cave, frozen to death. Their bodies were scattered around the ashes that had been their campfire on a tragic, frigid night. The story goes that each person had a log he or she could have placed on the fire to keep the fire alive, but each refused to do so. Each was convinced that he or she had a good reason for not offering his log. There was the homeless man who would not give his log because there was also a rich man there. The rich man would not give his log because his contribution would warm someone who was, in his eyes, shiftless and lazy. There was a woman who would not offer her log because she wanted to strike a blow against the men who had for all of history put women down. After all, the others around the fire were all men. Now there was a Muslim there. He would not give his log because there was also a Jew sitting by the fire. The Jew responded the same way. He wasn't going to give his log to allow a Muslim to survive, Nobody shared to save the others. Christians who had persecuted his people throughout the ages. There was an African American there who decided that he would rather freeze to death as a statement against those around the fire whose ancestors had enslaved his ancestors. And so the fire died, as each person withheld his or her log for reasons he or she were sure were justifiable, and the 6 froze to death. The story originally told in a poem, it ended with these tragic lines. 6 logs held fast in death's still hand was proof of human sin, for they did not die from the cold without. They died from the cold within. The cold within. This year of Jubilee, Pope Francis said, we are to be pilgrims of hope. But before we can be pilgrims of hope, before we can bring light to others, before we can warm others' lives, we have to look into our own lives and see what coldness and darkness is there. Is it the darkness of anger? Are you still angry at someone that's hurt you? Isn't it time to give that up? Maybe you even made a weak apology and they're fine. But that darkness inside you, that anger that you hold inside you, is like a spiritual cancer and it can destroy you. You can be slowly, spiritually freezing to death. Is there inside you jealousy? The darkness of jealousy. Jealousy that other people have more than you have. More money, more things, more cars, more whatever. Get rid of that. Be satisfied with what you have. I think most of us here have plenty. We're doing okay. And we know there are others who are much worse than ourselves. Jealousy is like a cancer. It can eat away at you over and over again. Is there a darkness of prejudice in you, a coldness of prejudice? Prejudice against so many things. Prejudice against people who are black or white or Mexican or Oriental or immigrants. Prejudice against Democrats or Republicans or independents or whatever. We make opinions about people and we hold these prejudices in our hearts. Sometimes we don't speak them. We're nice and polite on the outside, but we still don't like these people because they belong to the wrong group. That's destroying you. Get rid of that. Advent is a season to light up your life, to warm your heart. As we heard in the gospel, do not let your hearts become drowsy or cold or dark. Change your lives. This is not just a preparation for Christmas, it's a transformation into Christmas. Spoiler alert. I know how Advent's going to end. It's going to end with Jesus being born, or the anniversary of his birth, on December 25th. So you see, we're not pretending to be Jewish, who waited thousands of years for a Messiah, and then act surprised on December 25th morning, saying, wow, the Messiah's here. We know that. That happened 2,024 years ago. And so it's not preparation for a birth we know already happened. It's transformation that Christ can be born again into our lives, that we can bring Christ into others. So once we've gotten rid of some of the coldness and darkness and sin in our lives, being transformed by the light. And light is such an important part of Advent, the light of our Advent wreath, the lights on the outside of your home, the lights in your Christmas trees, the lights of your own homemade or home-bought Advent wreaths. Those are all symbols of a light that we should have. So let's get rid of the darkness, and then we bring light to others. And how do we do that? Sometimes it can be just a simple smile. How are you doing? Is everything okay? It can be bringing someone a meal who's maybe homebound because they're sick. It can be visiting someone who is dying. There's so many ways that we can bring light and warmth into people's lives. You know, we heard also in the reading, the anxiety of daily life, don't let that destroy you. And this is the most distressing month of the year. The things you stress about. Will I get the Christmas cards out in time? Will I get all my shopping done? Will I get the house decorated? Will everything be ready for Christmas dinner? Will all my friends arrive on time? Will the plane be late? What will I do? Don't be stressed. We have to do those things. Try to do them with a smile. Try to enjoy them. This is not meant to be a miserable season. It's meant to be a joyful season. So put some joy into your heart and slow down. Advent is meant to be a slow down month. Visit this church. It's open from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. every day. Visit that beautiful Eucharistic chapel. In your busy December, Advent, Christmas, hectic lives, take a breather. Pause down. Pause for a while. Calm down. And let Advent be a wonderful season, not something to get over with. Oh, the holidays are gone, thank God. And something is wrong if that's your attitude. This is a holy season, a season of transformation. You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others. And you are warmth to others. Take care of yourself, and then bring that light to others. And by Christmas, Christ will be reborn in our lives and those the lives we touched.